Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to the Just One More Level podcast. I am your co-host Christian,
And I am your co-host, John.
and this week for the Just One More Level podcast, we played a little bit of Dark Cloud on the PlayStation 2.
Yes.
Dorsman, you
Yes.
mentioned right before we started recording
Yeah.
that it is a very interesting game.
Yeah.
Do you want
Yeah.
to explain a little bit to us? How is Dark Cloud an interesting quote unquote game?
Certainly, Christian. Well, I do believe what I actually said was, Christian, let's talk about this weird ass game
We
because
That's
that
technically
is
yes. Yes, that is
yeah
what you
that
said.
that oh my gosh, I feel like that's more passionate, and that's how I feel. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
gonna put that in there. All right. So Dark Cloud is like um I don't. It's a dungeon crawler. Okay, and it's also a Sims City game.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And um no, you heard me right. And yeah, and it's also got a real weird story kind of thing. It's got kind of like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask vibes a little
Right.
bit to it.
It does. You're
Um
right about all these things.
yeah,
So like
it's weird. Is this a genre of game that I'm just not privy to because I'm not that experienced. I'm what some might call a filthy casual when it comes to video games. Usually, there's a few that I'm really interested in, of course, but generally speaking, I'm not that diverse with my experience in video games. So, fill me in. Am I missing something here, or is this an oddity?
so it's definitely an oddity in many ways. I can't say for sure if there's more games that clash these genres the way this one does, that being dungeon crawler and city builder, um clashing those two together in such a way. This is the only one I know of,
Okay.
or two, because there's actually a sequel, and I'm assuming it works in a very similar way. But I've never actually played that one, so I'm not sure. So for anyone who isn't watching YouTube, that's a little bit more curious about what it is. As we've mentioned, it's a dungeon crawling city building game. There is a group of people that are trying to destroy the world by bringing back this genie, dark, powerful genie or whatever, and of course you are like the chosen hero to save everyone,
Mhm.
after your town had been destroyed by these bad guys.
Oh,
And
wait, hold
since
on, Christian.
mhm
Christian,
mhm
you're getting ahead of yourself just a
oh,
tad with the
I'm
story.
sorry, okay.
We got to talk about how this genie comes back, Christian.
Oh my
Okay.
god, the dance.
So, yeah, so we pull up on this scene. It's got this big spooky castle right at the beginning of the game, right? All right, you
Mhm.
push the start button. You go into this little sequence with this little like monk-looking dude, and beside him is like if you crossed Hitler with the dad from the Wild Thornberrys.
I mean,
Okay?
the
He's
worst
like
part is you're not wrong. Like
he's like
that's
this big strict military looking guy, but he's got this big goofy ginger cartoon mustache.
right.
And it's so weird. So they walk into this big sort of sanctuary in this castle, and there's just a bunch of scantily clad people doing some kind of witch dance.
This is kind of
They're all
witch
just
dance.
they're all just shaking around, and like
Oh god.
the story has not been explained to you. Nothing has been explained. This is your opening to the game. The only thing you have before this is a tiny bit of text in
And the
some kind
attract
of
mode that
story
shows
book.
some weird ass monsters in that big ass castle. You got
True.
that too. Like
Yeah. Right. But other than that, you just get this tiny little bit of text at the beginning of the game, and it's vague as hell. It doesn't
very.
explain what's going on. And then you get thrown into that, and you're like, "Oh,
For
okay.
for
Okay.
anyone who's not watching the video on YouTube,
Yeah.
basically all the text tells you is, hey, you found a book of this old fairy tale. It may be true, it may not be true. This
Yeah.
is what happened.
Mhm.
That's the text that
Yeah.
leads you into this game. That's all the intro you get.
Right. So the witch dance is apparently what needs to happen to summon this genie. I don't know what happened to his lamp, but apparently it's in the shop. So they have to summon it in a giant cup
Yep,
with a witch dance.
that's
And
canon.
they succeed. First thing the genie does is eat the monk. He's got to
Of
get that
course.
food in. Got to
Yeah,
get
I
that
mean, look,
protein.
if you've slept for like 2,000 years or something, you'd probably be pretty hungry too.
Yeah, I forget how long he said he slept, but he slept for a
I don't
while, so he's
remember,
got to
but
get the protein. He grabs the monk. He leaves Hitler. He likes him. I think he thinks he's cute. I
right,
agree.
probably. I don't so much,
Um,
but
no,
hey,
and I
to
should
each their
probably
own, though.
refrain. I should probably refrain from using that name. He likes the other guy, so he keeps him around. I think he likes
uh,
his military costume. I think he thinks it's cute. All the while this is going on, by the way, they're being watched from behind the scenes by this anime-looking guy from Devil May Cry. That's kind of what he looks like. He kind of looks like
mm,
Dante,
that,
just a little bit.
uh,
Just a little bit.
d-
He reminds me
um,
of Dante.
okay.
I don't
Look,
know
that's
how he's
fine.
used in the rest of the game, okay? I don't know.
I
The
don't
only
know
part
exactly how he's using the rest of the game either, but I would not
yeah,
say he looks like Dante.
like
Um,
Dante.
yeah, but
Like
I mean, hey,
replicant.
that's fine. You can think that.
I'm pretty sure they lifted the character sprite for Devil May Cry
Probably
years
model
later.
maybe since it's a
The
3D
model,
game, but
yes. Sorry, the
I
character
mean,
model.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's
so
what it
yeah,
was.
so you have that whole intro sequence. He gets eaten, and then they fly to your town. They
Yeah.
destroy it. Everyone's
For
dead.
no
You're brought
reason.
back because you're the hero, and there you go. That's where the game actually gets started.
Yeah.
The what's his name? I can't remember the mayor's name of the town or whatever. It's like the only person that's left alive. He tells you,
Yeah.
hey, the only way that you can bring anyone back is if you find their, I guess, their soul essence. I don't really know how the hell it works, but
Yeah,
you
it's kinda like
find some shit in
Spyro.
this dungeon that we happen to have right
Mhm.
outside of town for some reason. And if you
Right.
explore that, find their life essence bullshit, then you can plant trees and bring people
Mhm.
back to life and give them houses, and then they'll give you items, and then you can go back down and explore more of the dungeon and repeat until somehow you save the world. We only played a couple hours of this game, so I don't know how this all turns into you saving the world, but
No.
somehow these things go together. It's a weird ass game.
It is. I played an hour's worth. I got to go through 2 levels of the dungeon and I almost to the 3rd level. I dipped out on the 3rd level because my weapons were breaking.
Right.
Um, so I got to play that much, and I went ahead and placed down the few things that I had collected from all the pods, all the little balls that you find. So
The balls.
yeah, I mean, one more quick thing, okay, about this
Yeah, yeah.
genie and his town destroying mannerisms. Why that was it? Is it next door to where they started from? I don't
I
get
have
it. Why
no
that
clue.
town?
I have
And
no clue.
why?
I'm
Okay,
assuming
so
they've just like going on a path, right? And then just destroying literally everything in the path of
maybe.
wherever they're at to where they're trying to go to. I don't
Mhm.
think like they targeted this town specifically. I don't think. Maybe they were drawn to that location because the town happened to be having a party for the ritual that locked the genie up originally. So maybe he was
Okay.
like, "Ha, fuck these guys in particular," and I don't.
Like a tornado. Yeah. Um, but yeah, okay, so yeah, we don't get it, but the genie apparently decides to attack the hero's town. You get like 30 seconds with the hero before this happens. You
Mhm.
just like transport into his home after the opening cutscenes of the game, which take way too long, by the way, for so little information. Um,
Yeah, honestly.
and you load up into town, and you are introduced to a love interest. I think maybe.
I
I
think so,
think
yeah. I think you're
you're
interested in
probably
her. Your
introduced
character is.
to a love interest. So she's about to get crushed by a tower because Genie shows up and he's gonna kill everyone and destroy everything.
Mhm.
And she almost gets crushed by a tower, or maybe not quite. You don't really get to see it because then, now we're in a vision land and we're greeted by some weird priest
Vision
looking
Land.
guy. Yeah, and the priest looking guy is the owner of Vision Land, and he has the same magic as the genie, but he's not as powerful. But maybe you can be because you have a kind heart. That's what he tells you. I don't know what
Right.
that's supposed to mean, but okay.
Because you saved your love interest, you put your life on the line for her, so that makes you
Okay.
special, and Yeah. And
Are you
even
reading
though I'm
into it,
pretty
or did
sure,
they tell you
like you're no, like I'm pretty
that?
sure that is like what
That
the
makes
reason
sense.
why like he believes you to have a kind heart or whatever. But
No,
like
yeah, that
with
that
that
makes
said, I
sense.
don't
That's
even
why I
think
was
you
confused.
actually save your love interest because like she's not there
Right.
whenever you come back to life.
Well, no, but
So
she's
like
probably in a little ball somewhere
yeah,
in
I
the
mean
dungeon.
probably somewhere. Like
Yeah.
but why is
So,
everybody in balls in the dungeon? Like
yeah, well, because no, he explains that. He says that
because
the
of the
wind blew
genie
him down
dude.
there.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
he says, yeah, he says that. Okay, so we should probably explain what the hell we're talking about. So this wizard guy, this priest-looking dude that you meet after everything goes to shit, um, he explains to you. He gives you a bracelet with like a jewel in it, and he says this is important for collecting your townspeople. And you're like, what? And he's like, yeah. So what I did was I put everything in the town, the houses, the possessions, and the people into these little Wonder Balls, like the chocolate Wonder Balls from the store.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, I put them into these Wonder
Obviously.
Balls, you see, and you're like, great, where are they? And he's like, whoops. You see, the thing is, when I do the spell, it creates a vortex of wind, and that blew all of them into the dungeon. And you're like, what? That's
Why?
totally
Why?
irresponsible.
That
And
makes
he's
no
like,
sense.
yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know why they put so little effort into coming up with the story as to how the gameplay gets started, but
I wonder, like, if it's a translation thing.
it
Like,
has
because
to
I
be,
know,
right?
like, one of the viewers when I was playing this on stream was talking about how Dark Cloud. I think they said in Japan it was originally known as like Dark Chronicles or something like that, and then they called it Dark Cloud, and then like, because then you have Dark Cloud 2, which is like completely different, but. I don't remember. They said something. The point is, the whole thing's weird, man. That's really all I can say about it. But
Hmm.
enough talking about the story and how weird the premise is and why you're doing the things you're doing. Did you
Sure.
have fun doing them? That's the
Well,
that's the real question here. Like,
okay, so yeah, after you have your, what are we going on here? 13 minutes of opening credit. Um, after you wade through that, you're treated to a pretty fun-ish dungeon crawler
yeah,
RPG city builder.
yeah.
Um,
Again,
it,
weird
it is,
mix, I know, but
yeah.
like,
I mean, it is kind of fun. You know, you get your weapons down in the dungeon, and you kill enemies to collect keys to open boxes that you find down there to get other weapons, or you can try to force it open and spring the trap that's behind the box. And
hmm
there's kind of like interesting enemies down there, and they did 3D scrolling in a really interesting way, I think.
yeah,
It looks like kind of like baked in textures for the textures of the wall, but the way they did like the 3D scrolling effect, it's really cool. It's really cool the way it looks. Um, I like it. I like that part of it.
yeah.
The
And if you
combat's not
enjoy,
bad. I haven't got that far into it because it is kind of RPG like.
right,
Um,
it's
so
pretty
you
it's
do have
pretty
to
lengthy.
find,
Yeah,
yeah, you do have to find stronger weapons. You can level up and upgrade your own weapons that you find. You can stay with the weapon if you like it,
right.
and continue to level it up over
And
time, and it'll evolve kind of like a Pokemon, the way it's described in
yeah,
the game.
yeah,
It'll
yeah.
kind of evolve
The
into a
more you
new
use a
weapon.
weapon without letting it die, the stronger it becomes. And you can
Yeah,
also like give it certain items to increase attributes or give it special powers or whatever.
right.
Um, and like
Hmm.
I don't know, man. Like I think if you like dungeon crawlers, I think you'll end up
Hmm.
really enjoying this game. I don't know how important the city building aspect of it ends up becoming. I
Right.
don't know if it ends up being like a moot point or like if you can just put stuff anywhere
Well,
you want and it's fine, or if if you lay things out in a particular order, you'll unlock extra things that you wouldn't have otherwise or whatever. Best I
right.
can tell, as long as you collect everything and put it down somewhere, I don't think it really matters. But
There
again,
is a
we've
button that
only
says
played a couple
analyze.
hours. There's a what?
Yeah. There's a button that says analyze.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, and
I
I
don't know,
think
if that's, does that mean to analyze like how you did? Did you do a good job? I love this. If you're watching on video, it just abruptly cuts to kind of like a how-to instructional video
Yeah. With, like,
in a
hand
complete
drawn.
yeah,
Yeah.
in a completely different cartoon style.
Yeah. Completely different, 100%. It goes from, like, 3D animation, like, early 2000s 3D PS2 animation to
Yeah.
just, like, kids drawing on paper.
Yes. And in order to explain how the
Uh,
Atlas, that's what they're called, the Wonder Balls, the Atlas are
yeah,
blown around the world, and you have Atlamilia. Your bracelet hand glove thing is called the Atlamilia.
of course it is, yeah.
Right.
'Cause that makes sense.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, as far as I'm aware, again, we haven't played very much of it to get a deep dive onto the mechanics of the game, especially
Yeah.
later on. But as far as I can tell, like, the analyze thing basically is just I don't know, honestly. Like, I know
Right.
if you, like, get someone's house
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
you give them certain items,
Uh-huh.
in their house that fits that character, they'll
Yeah.
give you, like, bonuses, like new weapons or new items that you can use or whatever. So I don't know if
Gotcha.
the analyze is just, like, the percentage completion like that, or if
Maybe.
it's actually like, "Hey, did you lay this out in a way that makes sense or that was like the old town?"
Right.
Or I don't
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Personally, whenever I go back to this game, because I most likely am going to go back to this game for the stream, if nothing else, um, I'm probably going to focus more on the dungeon crawling aspect of it because the city building aspect just isn't really doing anything for me. It feels kind of
Feels
tacked
tacked on.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Like, it's not it doesn't feel like a core mechanic of the game, at least not yet. That could change later on into the game or whatever, but
True.
from
Mhm.
what I've played, it just feels like, "Hey, how can we make this different from other RPGs that are out right now?" I know,
Right.
you can build a city up while you're doing it. Like,
Plus,
I
I've only explored 2 levels of this, and I already got a house and a, like, group of, carriages, and I got, like people a couple
yeah,
people and some
yep.
things to go in the house and stuff. So, is this potentially one of many areas that you get to explore? Do you
I
get to
don't
explore more areas and build more cities?
That's a
Some
good question. I don't
'Cause
think
it's a pretty
so, but I
small
don't know.
yeah, it's a pretty small area that you're working with. If it's, any kind of size, which I imagine that it would have to be, if it's got RPG elements like upgrading your weapons and leveling up, I feel like there would have to be more that you could do than just exploring this small space here. But I mean, I'm not, I don't know. We haven't played that far into the game. Unfortunately, sometimes, not all the time, but unfortunately, sometimes our gimmick of only playing a small portion of the game does come back to bite us
Right,
in the butt
right.
a little bit sometimes with our questions that very well may be answered. But if I had to say, Christian, I don't think it's gripping me in the first hour. Maybe I should give it another shot. Maybe just trying some more of the dungeon because I did like the dungeon stuff. The dungeon stuff was fun, but the other stuff that's present in the game has me feeling kind of like anxious. Like, am I supposed to be doing something right now? Like, am I supposed to be getting an important item, or is laying this town out in some kind of order important for some reason? Am I going to find that out later? You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe I would be distracted by some of the other things that's going on in the game to enjoy any one
Mhm.
aspect of it. So I
Okay.
think maybe a more focused direction, or even just like a reason, like why.
I gotcha.
Uh, Tell me
Yeah,
why. Come up with a better story to tell me why I'm doing this stuff that ties it all together. That makes sense. Like Jurassic World, perfect example of, I think, a good balance between the city building aspect and the little actiony parts that it has. Um, because if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking
nope,
about
no idea.
the Jurassic World Evolution game.
Never played it.
It's it's really cool. You get to build your own park. You get to build your own dinosaur park, and then you get
Right,
to
right,
it's full on, like, almost like Civ 6.
right.
Like,
Okay,
you send out research teams to research dinosaur DNA, and they bring back like, samples that they've collected, and from those samples you can grow your own dinosaurs, and
okay. I
you
gotcha, I
build
gotcha.
you build the fence enclosures to release the
So it's Dark
dinosaurs
Cloud
and
3 is what you're saying. It's the same
okay,
game,
yeah,
really. Yeah.
exactly, and then
Um,
you build different attractions and restaurants and restrooms and walkways and hotels and stuff for your guests in the park,
right,
right?
but why am I doing this, Jonathan? What is my
Right.
story motivation
Well,
for doing that?
in Jurassic World, there is a very clear story motivation, okay? Jeff Goldblum comes on and
Yeah.
explains it all to you in a very nice
Right.
way, and you get a very clear motivation for what you're doing.
Right.
Your Jurassic Park. Even in the DLC where they come out and say that it's the old park, it's the original
Uh-huh.
um layout from the first movie.
Right.
Even in that version, they bring voice actors in to come in and say, "Hey, this is this person from the movie. Hey,
Right. Right.
the original events of the movie happened 6 months ago, and we're back at the original site to clean it up and see if we can get people back here or something, something, something." Right? So it's like, I don't know. Even that's better than what this has going on.
I don't know. I counterpoint, right? Your story motivation here, you could say, is just saving all of your friends in the town, right? Like,
Yeah,
is that not enough motivation? If your entire town and
I
everyone you've
suppose.
ever loved and known was destroyed, and they were like, "Hey, you have to go fight these monsters and find
I
balls to bring them
guess,
back to
but
life,"
give
isn't
me
that
a
all the story motivation you need at the end of the day?
if you're gonna go with such a light story motivation, then why not go with what Spyro did? So Spyro had a very
Mm.
lightweight story, but it had a very interesting character to
Right.
follow.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're gonna go with a lightweight story, give me an interesting character to
Right.
get behind. My
Yeah.
interesting character that I can name myself because it's an RPG, and I
I
did, of course. I named him Fesh, Fesh, Fesh.
I
Um,
okay. I'm playing devil's
I
advocate. I agree. The story needs a little bit more, but
you need a but.
maybe more comes later. I don't know
Sure.
that part. I did look it up, and as far as I can tell, there's only the one town, as far as I can tell.
Wow.
And and it doesn't matter how they're laid out unless someone asks specifically to be put like in a different location or whatever. So the town
Okay.
building thing really seems to be there to just be there, and that's essentially it. I don't
Wow. So
know.
you can you they can be disappointed with your suggestion. I saved
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Well,
I put your house down.
maybe they're a little old lady and they have the hots for the mayor, so they want to be
Hey,
closer to the mayor or something like that.
I got to
Like
go
I don't
back in
know.
this
I don't
dungeon
have
now
examples.
and go get the mayor. Okay. You don't get to have a crush on anybody because he's still down there. I have to
Well,
go
no,
get him. So
the
you.
mayor's already alive. He's
No,
left in the town. Remember?
oh yeah, that's
Whenever
right.
you
That's true.
yeah.
That's true. So
Yeah.
they want to be
But
close to the. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I don't. I
I'm just
was just
saying.
throwing that out there. I have no idea if that's an actual example of like a move that someone would want. I just pulled that one out of my ass. That's just the very quick forum post that I saw said.
I
Sometimes
have
people will ask
to.
me move somewhere. Other than that, it doesn't fucking matter. So like the city
Nonsense.
building thing's very basic, but my thing is that the dungeon crawling aspect I actually find very fun. It's got
Mhm.
decent RPG mechanics. If you're into dungeon crawlers, I think the dungeon crawling is done well. There's some nice exploration to be had. There's secrets to be had. There's different areas that you can unlock if you get like oil for the cart, for instance. A
Mhm.
mine cart that'll take you to like a second hidden area on each level, so you can find even more things. You
Oh,
can
nice.
level up you
I
can
didn't
level
realize
up
that. The
your weapons.
okay.
It's got some of the old school roguelike element where you have to have food and drink, otherwise you will pass out in the dungeon or die or whatever. Like I think those mechanics are actually well fleshed out, and that's what makes the game. The world building aspect of it, I agree. It's just there. It's whatever. But
Right.
I think the dungeon maker aspect of it is good enough on its own, stands up on its own. And for that reason, I would definitely play just one more level, even if it
Okay.
was just for myself. But I also know that on stream, people are wanting to see more of it. So I will
Okay.
probably be playing more of it on stream at some point
Nice.
as well.
Um, I think for me, I'm gonna go. I would not play just one more level. I am interested in the dungeon crawling aspect, and I might be interested in maybe revisiting the game at some point in the future. But yeah, right now I think it's not gripping me quite hard enough to grab me just from the first hour.
Right.
Um, If I were to give it a second chance, or if I were to give it maybe a little bit longer on this one, I think maybe. But as of right now, I'm saying from the first hour, I don't think it's holding my attention very well. So I'm gonna say no for me. No, I would not play just one more level
I
of Dark
love
Cloud.
your opinions on things because
Yeah,
games that you admit to hating
yeah,
because they are janky or broken or
yes,
whatever, you want
uh-huh,
to play more of.
yes.
But a game that you say it's okay, but it just didn't quite grip me, it's like, I don't know, man, that one's not good enough.
It's
if you
passive.
were if
It
you were
has
a
to
little
evoke
more if you were a
something.
little more of a janky broken mess, I would play
Mhm.
more of you. But you work well, you're just not exceptional in my eyes. So, sorry
Right.
game.
I mean,
I just don't
isn't
understand your
isn't that
rating
just the
system.
way it
That's
goes?
all.
Isn't that just the way it goes?
For you.
It is for me. It
It
is.
is for
I
you.
don't know. I don't know.
And
I
that's
just
fine. That's
yeah.
perfectly fine. You're allowed to have
I
that
don't really
opinion.
know what it
I
is.
just don't understand it at all.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
maybe somebody can help me out with that one down in the comments, or for the stream that's happening maybe in the chat after we close this episode here. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of how I it's kind of how I rate things. It feels right. It just feels right in my heart, Christian. I just
Uh,
know. I just know that that is what I need from a video game. I need uh I need
okay.
something ridiculous or something exceptional.
Something terribly broken or very, very good.
Mhm.
Those are the only two things he will play.
It just has to evoke an emotional response, that's all.
It
It
doesn't
has to
matter if it's a
evoke
good one or a
passion.
bad one. I gotcha.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, if I am not enjoying something, I don't want to play more of it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's because it's a broken mess. But anyways, guys, I don't really think we have a whole lot more to say about Dark Cloud on the PS2. I would
No, we had a good
suggest
bit to say, though.
before you try it out, I would suggest maybe looking into it a little bit, see if it's your kind of thing. Unless you know for sure that you like dungeon crawlers, old school dungeon crawlers. If that's the case, then I would say give it a try. And yeah, if you really enjoy world building or city building, I don't think this is probably the game for you. I played an interesting game, Metropolis Mania, something like that. Maybe look into that one. That one's kind of interesting for city
Metropolis?
building. Metropolis Mania is
Mhm.
what it's called. Maybe we'll check it out on the podcast at some point. But this one's already ran on long enough, so I think that's all we got time for. John, you got any closing statements? Anything to say before we go?
I would say so. It's probably just about long enough. But before we go, I just want to thank everyone for listening and or watching the videos. You don't have to, but you do, and we appreciate it. So until next time, thank you, and
Thank you all.
have a good one. Bye bye.
Be kind to each other, and bye bye.